I honestly don't think I'll ever have a more exciting announcement than this one, so I've reached my peak, really. Hey everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel, This Story Ain't Over. Today's video is gonna be a little bit different than usual because I'm gonna be telling you about something very exciting that I've been keeping a secret for almost a year now. So for those of you who don't follow me on Instagram or TikTok, if you don't, you should go now. I put up a whole announcement video on both those platforms explaining this very exciting thing, and that is that I am launching my very own publishing imprint, and it's called Boundless Press. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit because all of you are probably like, what? What is going on? How is this happening? Where did this come about? So if you are only interested in just like the details of how this is all gonna work, you can skip ahead to the section on that, but I am gonna first talk about how all of this came to be and how I got to this point, and then explain the whole situation a little bit more. So story time, way back in December of 2022, which is now like 9 months ago, and I can't even believe that because I feel like so much has happened in my life over the past year that even December feels so far away. But essentially, there's this person named Matt K, a lovely human, who reached out to my agent that manages my brand partnerships. And essentially, Matt had asked to speak with me on a call with my agent to tell me about a new startup that he had created. And the startup involved influencers becoming publishers. So obviously this was a very strange request to be getting. I remember my agent just like sending me a voice note telling me about this, and I was kind of skeptical. I was like, how is this gonna even work? Will this make any sense? I just had so many questions, but I was definitely intrigued, so I decided to take the call. So I got on this call with Matt and my agent, and essentially Matt walked me through this idea for a startup, or one that he was actually creating, that involved sort of combining the idea of Patreon, which is a membership platform where influencers or artists or writers can gain support from patrons, you know, people who want to support their work and make sure that they can earn a livable income while creating content, and combining the idea of Patreon with publishing. Essentially, he pitched me the idea of these tastemakers, who would be these book influencers, creating their own membership community and then being able to use that towards the marketing of their own published imprint books. So those are just the initial details, and I'll get more into detail in a second. But I did this call and I was like, what? This is so intriguing, but will it actually work? I was initially very skeptical, and you know, I was going through a tough time when I first had this call, and I had just gotten out of publishing only 6 months before that, and I had had a very awful experience with publishing, so I was feeling a little bit negative about how we as book influencers, as tastemakers, could really change the publishing landscape. Like, could we even do this? Would it even work? I wanted a system where we could properly support authors on the publishing side of things and really see them succeed, but I was skeptical of whether traditional publishing would be able to accept this. So I did more meetings with Matt K, who is the CEO, and Megan Harvey, who is the co-founder and president of Bindery, this new startup platform for tastemakers and publishing. And as they talked to me more about this platform and what they hoped for the publishing world, I honestly just got so freaking excited, because these were two people who genuinely cared about authors, about publishing, about all of the things that are wrong with the publishing industry, and wanted to actually change that and make a positive change for the world. Both of them were very passionate about just getting the voices of different authors out there and making sure that they got the attention and marketing that they deserved. Matt and Meg really sold to me the idea that, you know, Bindery could really help these mid-list authors who were getting forgotten, or the authors that weren't even getting their foot in the door. Now, mind you, I was still kind of wary about joining this whole thing because, one, I had tried membership platforms before. Those of you who have been following my channel for a while know that I did Patreon at one point, I did channel memberships on YouTube at one point, and I had struggled to have the capacity to create extra content for you guys, and I honestly feel so bad that I couldn't like properly provide that at those times, and I do think I was overextending myself in those previous points. But with Bindery, I knew that if I was committing to this, I had to be super committed to it, and I knew that I needed to change something about my life in order to make sure that I could do it. And throughout this year, as many of you know, I have been struggling with my mental health, and I have been getting diagnosed for different mental illnesses, and I have been going on medication, and I have finally found some semblance of stability. And that is really exciting to me because now I feel like I finally have the capacity to do all these things that I always wanted to, and I feel like I can finally fulfill my full potential, and I want to be able to do that with Bindery. Now that I'm living alone, I'll be able to create content whenever I want, and I'm saving a lot of time that I usually wasted on commutes to work, and so I'm really excited that I now have the space and the bandwidth to do something like this. Because guys, I really, really believe in this and I'm so freaking excited. So what is Bindery? I know I've alluded to it a little bit as I've told you this mini story of how I got to this point, but let me give you the full breakdown. So Bindery is a membership platform much like Patreon or Substack, but it's actually tailored and designed specifically for bookish content creators like me. So much like Patreon, you'll be able to subscribe and get exclusive content from me, and this includes anything from extra exclusive videos, live shows with me, and a lot more to do with the whole publishing aspect of this, which I'll get to. Now, when I say subscribe, that means these are members who are paying to get exclusive and extra content from me. It's a way to support me as a content creator, help me make sure that I can continue to do this for years to come. But the exciting thing about Bindery is that that subscription revenue doesn't just go towards supporting me, it also goes towards publishing new books. So 50% of the subscription that you pay when you join my community will go to me to support me and my channel, but the other 50% of that subscription that you pay will actually go towards publishing new books under my very own imprint with the help and support of Bindery's team of publishing professionals. So 50% of your subscription will go to me for creating this extra content that you'll be getting for these live shows and all this extra goody stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise from me. And then the other 50% is going towards publishing these new books, things like paying for the author's advance for their book, which, if you don't know how traditional publishing works, essentially when a publisher acquires an author's book, they pay the author an advance, which is a sum of money that they give in advance of the book coming out, which they will sell against. So in order for an author to earn royalties on their book, they need to sell X amount of copies to make back the advance that they got paid out early, and then from there they'll start to earn royalties on their book. And royalties in traditional publishing actually tend to be very, very low, like it's like 10 or 15%. So that 50% will include things like the author's advance for the book, the editor that we hire to edit the book, the actual production of the physical copies of the book, and then costs like the sales, marketing, and publicity of the book. This means that authors will actually earn over twice the amount of royalties that they would usually do with a traditional publisher. They'll still get the same support and distribution, so they'll still get to see their books, published out in the regular bookstores that you would usually see books from our traditional publishers. But additionally, they'll also get the support of my platform to help get the word out about their book. I'll be able to help authors who have been traditionally overlooked by the industry to reach readers who will actually love their work. So besides all of the exclusive content that you would get from me, readers would also get a front row behind the scenes look to the entire publishing process of one of the books that we choose to publish under my imprint, Boundless Press. Members will get to help me decide what to publish, weigh in on the cover of the book, and get special benefits like early copies of the book in ebook or physical copy, and even your name in the back of the book as a thank you. Members of my community on Bindery will get the satisfaction of knowing that they helped put this book out in the world and, see it in bookshelves and feel that satisfaction that you have changed the industry in some way. All right, let's dig into the nuts and bolts of things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the platform and show you a little bit of how it looks and how the memberships work. And then I'll also tell you a little bit more about the publishing process and answer any questions that I think you might have. Okay, so let me show you the platform itself. So this is my page on Bindery. This is the Boundless Press page. So Boundless Press is the name of my imprint. So very exciting. I'll talk a little bit about that and why I chose that name in a bit. But essentially, when you get to Bindery, you get this main page, which tells you a little bit more about Boundless Press. So welcome to Boundless Press, where we share our love of reading and publish books that showcase the intertwined beauty and flaws of our complex humanity. Here, you will be reminded that your story is boundless and never quite over. So if I scroll down, you can see the different membership levels. So when you first check out my page, you'll be able to see which tier you might want to go with and what perks you might potentially want to sign up for. If you scroll further down, you'll see a little introduction video that I filmed so you can get a little bit more context of what Boundless Press is meant to be doing. And then if you scroll further, you get to this whole feed of my content. So the way that this will work is that it will not only have the dedicated feed of all of my content, so all my videos will be linked here, but you'll also get the feed of my exclusive posts. You'll see them on this feed feed as blurred out content pieces that you can unlock if you join my membership. It works very similar to the way that Patreon does, so just keep that in mind. Now, the thing that I really love about Bindery is that it is so perfectly made for bookish content creators and bookish people. So for each of these content posts that you see on my feed, they are actually linked up to each of the books that I mention in that video. So if we go to my July wrap up, you see these books all linked here. So if I click on one, so Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, you'll not only see affiliate linked buying options. So if you want to support my channel in a further way by buying through my affiliate links, that's an option there. So you can buy through Bookshop or Amazon, but you'll also be able to scroll further and see all of the other videos and content that I've mentioned this book in. It's pretty dang cool and a really nice way for you guys to, you know, see what books I'm talking about, see where else I've talked about them, and just get a really quick and easy way of grabbing the books in a way that supports me. So that was the home page. If I toggle over to the bookshelf page, you'll also get to see a whole list of all of the books that I've ever recommended in any of my content, and you can go to any one of them, go to the buying options, go see what videos I've recommended them in. And then of course, at the top of this bookshelf page, you'll also see the listing for the book that we're considering for Boundless Press. So if I click into this, you'll see a whole timeline phase thing that's going on. So for each book that we're trying to publish with our imprint, it'll go in different phases. And I'll talk about this a little bit more soon, but essentially at the beginning of the whole process, I'll be considering manuscripts, reviewing them, sharing what I think of them with you on the membership platform, trying to decide with your help which book to publish. Essentially at the end of this phase, once we've reached enough members and we've decided on a book that we like, we will offer an author a book deal and greenlight that book. From there, it'll go through the different phases of publishing, so editorial, design, printing, until we get to the final phase where it will be published and out in the world. On this page, you'll also be able to see a feed of all of the videos and content pieces where I've mentioned the book that we're going to publish with Boundless Press, so that's also a pretty convenient way to have it all in one place. When it comes to exclusive content, a lot of it will surround like the publishing process, so me talking about the different submissions and what I think of them and which ones I'm leaning towards and trying to get your opinion, and then just behind the scenes on like the entire process. So when I'm getting sent like covers of the books and what I think of them and trying to get your opinion on that. A lot of the exclusive content will just be really exciting because it's not just about me and like extra things for me, but it's about this publishing process as well. So you'll really feel like you are part of it for the entire ride. Okay, so let me talk about the publishing process a little bit more in depth and answer some questions that you may have. So essentially, as I said, like 50% of that subscription revenue will go towards the publishing pipeline of my imprint, Boundless Press. So I will be engaging my membership community, telling them this behind the scenes information, getting their input on which manuscript we should be greenlighting to publish. And then as the book goes through the process of publishing, so editorial, sales, marketing, all of that, I'll be sharing bits and pieces of that process and engaging you throughout that process, asking for your opinion and letting you weigh in on all of it. I talked about this a lot with Matt and Meg and the other creators who are also launching their own imprints on Bindery, but one thing that we're really excited about is things like covers. Sales reps in publishing kind of arbitrarily decide that they think this cover is going to sell. And a lot of times it might be something that the author doesn't really like, but the author does have input into covers, even if they don't get final say. But this way, I'm going to be able to get like actual feedback from you guys, the people who will actually be buying and reading these books, the people who are forming the culture of the publishing industry. And so we're going to actually have empirical evidence of like what is actually working for people, what people actually like in their covers, and not just getting the same like rinse and repeat covers just because one book goes viral and has like a similar title and, you know, vibe. And so I'm just going to be able to support these authors and their vision so much more, and with your support. Publishing is notoriously a very subjective space and full of a lot of these same people. You know, the people who are able to work in publishing are the people who are able to afford a unpaid internship and move their way through the ranks of an industry that pays very, very little, barely a living wage. And, you know, only people with a certain level of privilege are able to do that. And so so with this new model, we'll be able to inject like a level of color into the industry. You know, we are decentralizing publishing in a way. Through Bindery, we'll be bringing the decision making to the people who are actually reading the books and buying the books. Another thing that's really exciting is that my community will also get early copies of the books before they're released. And depending on your tier, that might be an ebook or an actual physical copy. And aside from that, you'll also be helping me drive word of mouth about these books for these authors who typically start out not having any sort of platform and needing to build that from scratch. We'll be supporting them in such a big way that traditionally authors wouldn't have. So in terms of timeline, the entire process for publishing one of the books will take up to about a year. That's typically how the publishing process works in traditional publishing, so it's not very different. And we are going through all of the steps to make sure that these books are set up for success. So that will include taking a few months after we launch now to decide which book to publish. And then from there, the production, the editing, all of that will take 6 to 9 months. And that includes like selling the books into, you know, bookstores and getting them the distribution they need. And from there, you know, they'll actually get published and they'll be available in stores a few months after that. Obviously, every book is different, so the process might vary slightly depending on the book and what it needs. But essentially, we'll get into a rhythm of publishing a book every year, maybe even 2. Now, of course, if you become a member, you'll get the full behind the scenes look and you'll get to see all this come to life. But even if you decide not to join as a member of my Bindery platform, you'll still get to read the books that we publish after they come out. You'll still get to go buy them at a bookstore and see my logo on them and see all the work that we put into the book. Now, you're probably thinking, how does this benefit the authors and what's the money situation with all of this? So of course, I'm gonna deliver on all of these specifics because Bindery is so awesome and Matt and Megan are just so open about how this is really gonna change the industry and help authors. They are willing to share the numbers with you, so I'm gonna share them with you. So Bindery is offering 2 times the industry standard earnings for authors. Bindery offers a flat $10,000 advance for any authors who are greenlit, and they also get 50% of the net royalties. So you might remember I mentioned earlier in this video that traditional publishing typically works on a system of an advance that varies very, very largely, and these advances are split across several payments, and very often authors are trying to make a living off of very small advances, or they are trying to earn out large advances that they'll never really successfully earn out, and they end up kind of tanking their careers. Every now and then there's a unicorn author who gets a really, really big advance and their career continues to skyrocket, but the purpose of Bindery is really to serve the underrepresented, deserving authors who haven't had the chance to make it in publishing. By offering a pretty standard advance and more royalties than ever seen before in the industry, an author will actually get to earn a lot more with each book that sells. Now, you're probably wondering what happens to the other 50% of the royalties. Well, in traditional publishing, an author gets about 10 to 15% of their royalties, and the other 80 to 90% of the earnings on the book go to the publisher completely. In Bindery's model, the other 50% of the royalties, half of that goes to Bindery and continuing to keep up this publishing pipeline and, you know, all the things it needs to keep the platform going. And then the other 25% will go to me as an incentive for me to help continue to make these books sell. I'll be using my platform to help these books grow and see them succeed in the world. And so there is a monetary aspect of me wanting to make them work, and also the author feeling that I will do my best to make it work. So if we compare traditional publishing and Bindery, an author will get 50% of the net royalties, which is an insane amount when it comes to publishing. They'll get dedicated support from me and my community and my platform, and overall they'll be getting double the industry standard when it comes to earnings. Aside from the money aspect, authors will also be getting traditional support that you would see with a traditional publisher. So all of the books that are published by the imprints in Bindery will be supported by Girl Friday Productions. Girl Friday Productions is a packager that has made books for traditional publishers and indies alike since 2006. The books for Bindery and all of the imprints will be printed beautifully with these offset printers and will be available from booksellers nationwide. All Bindery books will be distributed in retail channels in partnership with Two Rivers in Ingram brand, and they will also have traditional sales representation for selling into retail. For those of you who are very familiar with publishing and how rights work and all that, sub-rights are very important for authors' careers and income, and so Bindery will represent those rights for authors who choose it, but they can also choose not to. Now, if we get into the idea of just like how Bindery and the way it's modeled also helps the author, it's an overall overall launch partnership. From the moment the book deal is signed, the author will be able to meet and form a relationship with my community of viewers. And these will be viewers who are hopefully really invested in the book's launch. Partnering with influencers like me and the other influencers who are launching their own imprints with Bindery relieves the author of all of the pressure of publicizing and marketing their books. They won't have to build their own platforms on social media and be forced to do things that really are outside of the scope of being a writer. Like, writers just want to write most often, and authors these days, especially in traditional publishing, are being forced to like make a TikTok and an Instagram and be so active on social when that's not really what they want to be doing. I'll be here to do that for them. Authors will still have full creative control over their book and the editing process, and they'll still have approval on covers as well. But the really neat and awesome thing is that they'll get input from me and from my community to see what really works for readers out there. We'll be able to help pick a cover that really hits the mark and makes their book as successful as possible. Now, you may be wondering, why do I, Jananie, deserve to earn any money with this whole situation? And also, why do I deserve to pick what to publish? So, like many content creators on like Patreon or Substack, earning money directly from my audience, from those of you who have the capacity to, subscribe and join my community, it gives me the ability to create more content and have more creative control and not be sort of tied to the algorithms that don't really want to see me succeed. I'll be able to build a career doing what I love and continue to bring you the content that you enjoy. You obviously do not have to subscribe or join my membership platform if you don't want to. I will still have all of my free content on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram, on my TikTok. I will never stop doing that, and I will never take away things that you would typically get from me. All I'm doing is just doing extra stuff for my membership community and giving them a sneak peek into the publishing process for the books that they are paying to support themselves. So if you don't want to join my membership community, you don't have to. But if you do want to support me further and help me publish diverse and incredible stories, then I really hope you'll join. In terms of why I deserve to pick what books to publish, I think we all know that the books that influencers, talk about really do sell more. It's a thing that has been talked about in the publishing industry so much in recent years, how TikTok has been selling books that haven't been talked about in years or that came out like 20 years ago. Song of Achilles is like a really great example of that. Many of you have gone out and bought and read the books that I have recommended personally on my channel, and that is such an incredible thing. So by combining my platform and my unique tastes, we can actually help authors get to the readers that will actually enjoy their books and help them realize their dream of getting their books out there. Alrighty, now that we've gone through the entire way that Bindery works, what it is, the publishing process, the membership platform, all of that, I want to talk a little bit about my imprint, the logo and name that I chose, and what I'd like to publish. Hopefully this will be very exciting for those of you who are planning to join the membership community, and even for those of you who aren't planning to join and just want to see what kind of books I'll eventually publish and see what you can pick up down the line. So when it comes to the name of my imprint, it is Boundless Press. And I think for those of you who have been following my channel for a while, you will know that this isn't a very out there name for me. It's very in line with my beliefs and my values and the things that I have been talking about for years on my channel. You might be wondering why I didn't go with like my channel name, The Story Ain't Over. It's a good question. I honestly just feel like my channel name is a little bit long and a little bit of a mouthful, and it doesn't feel as unique for a imprint as I would like it to be. I wanted the imprint to be able to stand on its own aside from my channel, even though I will be using my channel and platform to promote Boundless Press. But I also wanted Boundless Press to be like an extension and an evolution of me and my channel. So the reason I chose the word boundless is because I feel like it feels very similar to the idea of the story ain't over. Your story ain't over. When I started my channel, it was with this belief that even though things have gone wrong, even though I am not doing well at this moment, my story isn't over. There's always so much further for me to go, for me to learn, for me to change in my life. And even when I feel awful, there's so much more of my story to go. Boundless has a similar kind of connotation, this idea that your story is boundless, that you have so much further to go and you should never limit yourself to one idea or one identity. I wanted this idea of the books and people that we publish to be something that can go on and evolve further in the world and change the world in some way. Now, in terms of the logo for Boundless Press, this is actually something we worked on before coming up with the name for my imprint. I had hemmed and hawed about my imprint name for quite a while, so I hadn't decided on that before starting the logo, but the logo was mainly based off of my brand and how I had appeared online and just thematically what I was feeling and seeing, and especially in terms of colors and themes. If you choose to join my membership community on Bindery, then you'll get to see an in-depth conversation between me and Charlotte, who is the designer behind all the logos for Bindery. And she did some amazing, amazing work just pulling together the different themes and colors and concepts of my brand and how I had showcased myself visually online in my like Instagram feeds and in my videos, and just the colors that I gravitated towards. What I love about the logo is that it, you know, pulls in this idea of sun and moon and stars and just like the boundless nature of our world, of our universe, and I wanted that to play an aspect, but it also is sort of grounded in books. And so it's this idea of this book shining light, but also providing a little bit of darkness. I really love how it turned out, and I love the colors, and it just looks so classy and beautiful. And I'm so freaking excited to see the logo actually printed on the books that we publish with Boundless Press. Now, in terms of the books that I'd like to publish with Boundless Press, the types of books that I'm trying to curate, you guys know that my mission in the past few years with my channel has been to support and uplift BIPOC voices and see more of us just published out in the world, both for representation's sake, but also just so that we are all learning more about the world. But I'm also really interested in publishing authors who, much like me, are neurodivergent or queer or disabled or have some sort of mental illness. Like, all of these identities are very important, and I want to see that representation out in the world. Obviously, I'm not going to be limiting myself just by the identity of the author when I choose the books to publish. I'm obviously going to be reading the books for their merit and what I think they can bring to the world. And so in terms of the content of the books, I really want to publish books that showcase the flaws and complexity of our world and of humanity. Generally, I want to be publishing adult fiction because I feel like my reading taste has shifted towards that category. And I want to publish both commercial and literary fiction. I want to publish historical fiction. You guys know I love a lot of that. And I really want to publish some speculative fiction as well. Books that have a touch of sci-fi, fantasy, or horror aspects. Generally, with Boundless Press, I want to curate stories that have imperfect characters going through messy development arcs, and stories that just generally have something to say about our world. I want well-written, descriptive detail, believable dialogue, and themes that are well explored through three-dimensional, flawed characters. I want books that discuss race and class, privilege, and sexuality. I want books that touch on mental health and generational trauma. I want books that play with the idea of destiny and fate and what we are able to change in our world. You guys know some of my favorite books, and really Boundless Press is going to be a curation of books very similar to those. So books like The Stationery Shop by Marshawn Kamali, like Kaigei by Vaishnavi Patel, like Babel by R.F. Kuang, like The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, like Disorientation by Elaine Seicho, books like 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and books like any of the Sylvia Moreno Garcia books. I am so excited for this journey and for everything to come with Boundless Press, with Bindery, with this new chapter in my life and in my journey with all of you. I know you'll all have a lot of questions, so leave them down below. I'm going to be answering as many as I can in the comments. And overall, I just can't believe this is happening. I am so grateful for all of you for making this possible. Your support over all of these years have allowed me to build this platform to get to the position to be able to do this. So I'm so grateful to all of you. Whether you're joining my membership community or not, I really appreciate every one of you. But with everything I've said, I really hope that you'll take a look and think about joining my Bindery membership and being part of Boundless Press. So if you want to join, go click the link in my description. And if you still have questions about Bindery and want to learn more, you can go to their website and the FAQs down below. Thank you for making this possible. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you, and I'll see you guys next time. So please remember that this story ain't over. Bye.